Hey guys, this is Shamanic Awak Priestess here. Sorry, my camera is a little bit shaky, so apologize about that. It's very early in the morning where I'm at, so it's about 8 a.m. and everyone's sleeping. My two older boys are with their dad this weekend because it's a long weekend here. Today's Monday, but the kids have no school. I don't remember what holiday it is, to be honest, but that's terrible, I know. And my oldest daughter had a sleepover with one of her friends, and they're sleeping upstairs because they stood up pretty late. And my youngest is sleeping too, so she might pop up. So I don't know how long I'll have to record this video, but I wanted to get this video out there in one of my rare and few quiet moments. You might hear my coffee maker um, brewing my coffee for the morning. I haven't even had my morning coffee. I just finished taking a nice, refreshing shower and, doing brushing my teeth and stuff like that. And I said, let me just record this video before everybody wakes up. So this video responds is to one of my lovely subscribers. She knows who she is. And she asked me about crystal grids because I have talked about that before on a couple of videos. And I also did a video on how I use crystals and things like that with chakras and etc. etc. So I thought that's what I would do. Being that I'm over 200 subscribers. Sorry, there's so much noise outside. There's like a truck outside too. Sorry. Um, so being that I'm over 200 subscribers, which I never knew, never could imagine. So very excited about my little channel growing. I decided to do at least post once a week. Video response videos about questions that people have asked me, and I'm trying to do them in the order that they've been asked, and I'm trying to get to everybody, of course. So today's video is going to be about crystal grids. So I have some for beginners, okay, book recommendations, and I've been having this book, wow, for 4 years, I think, when I really started to getting into crystals. And I love this book. There's a lot of different other ones and things, but I love it because I buy crystals very intuitively if I'm drawn to them and things like that. A lot of the crystals that have been the most powerful, I've actually dreamed of them, stones, because I'm very clairvoyant, especially in dreams and things. So one time I dreamt of an orange crystal. I didn't know what it was, and it was in a dream, and I kept seeing it in the dream. And you can go on this book and look up crystals by colors or certain characteristics and come to find out it was a carnelian, and I was very new to working with crystals. So, it helps a lot with that. Or if you happen to go to a crystal store, which I've done, and I like to feel, different crystals, and I've been drawn to take one home, I can look it up in this crystal Bible and see the properties of it. So I do love it for that. I mean, there's illustrations for the most part. For example, the different ways that you can see moonstone, the characteristics, how you can use it for healing, the attributes, and things like that. So this book is very, very, very useful. Um, this other Llewellyn book of correspondences, has crystals. It has herbs. It has so many different things. Okay, and no, you do not have to be a Wiccan because I am not a Wiccan, and I don't even know if I would necessarily even declare myself as pagan either, but that's for another video. But definitely I'm a spiritual person. Definitely I'm a spiritual person, but I don't know if I would really classify myself as pagan to be honest. But anyways, so those two books are good. And then this book, and I also show this on a whole video, Crystal Prescriptions, the A to C Guide to over 1,200 symptoms and their healing crystals. So the way I usually create a crystal grid, it can either be once a week, every 2 weeks, or sometimes only once a month. It depends on how long that crystal feels that I need to work with it, that crystal grid. because that's how I work with it. I work with it to heal me spiritually. I work with crystals to balance the chakra. Um, when I balance my chakras, that's done on a weekly basis. Like when I go through, I balance them all the time, like all seven, but sometimes there's a certain chakra that needs more work than the other. So, for example, if I really need some heavy throat chakra work, it is not something that will be healed in one meditation session. So, that chakra will be something that I might have to work with for a week or 3 days. So, it's the crystal grids are kept up for as long as they need to be up. And this is a really good book too, because let's say, for instance, you want to create a crystal grid because you know you need a lot of throat chakra work, for example. You can look up things like communications, see what kind of crystals are good for communications. You can look up throat chakra. They'll tell you what crystals. And what I like about that is, for the most part, I haven't had to buy any new crystals. Because I think sometimes, I mean, unless you want to collect them, that's fine. But like the way I am, I usually buy, I have mostly the altar that I've shown you in my videos with the crystals are the biggest pieces that I have. Like I have, you know, a couple of these things. You'll see me occasionally show wands, but I don't have a lot of like big pieces of crystals, mostly in my work altar, and that's for a reason. I need certain, you know, energies, keeping everything positive, and certain protections and things like that, of course. But in my wall altar or in my spirit room where I have all my shrines and altars, I may have one or two pieces, but maybe if that, like I don't really work with crystals when it comes to African traditional religion. Like I don't have crystal altars like that. You know, maybe a certain spirit might want something and I'll buy it for them or something like that. But that's not the foundation of that part of my practice. But as far as healing, and because I read on this space professionally, both online and in my site, I like to have my crystals at this side of me to bring up that beautiful energy. But in my spirit room, that's where I will have my crystal grid, because I do meditate in my spirit room. And that's the most crystals you're really going to see in my working spirit room. It helps me to be a better spiritual advisor and reader, because I have to make sure that I'm spiritually balanced and I'm vibrating at a high vibration no matter what's going on in my personal and mundane life. Because that's just the real. That's very important when you're reading for others professionally and being a spiritual advisor. You know, we have our own things going on sometimes, so we have to make sure we're vibrating at a high vibration so that we can help those that seek our wisdom and our guidance and seek us for our gifts and things like that. So crystal grids has been something that's been very powerful for me. Yes, I'm a witch. I do rituals and I do spell casting and all that kind of things, but crystal grids is also very important part of my practice. The kind of crystals I like to use for the focal point, which is like the most powerful part of a crystal grid, I like to use crystals in its most natural form. The reason why I have certain big pieces of crystals is because at one time or another, they're going to be the focal point of a crystal grid. You know, I like using this beautiful, I show this in the haul too. It just keeps my space neat. You don't need this to create crystal grids. I can't create very giant crystal grids. You know, I live in a small house, a lot of people living here, and I'm limited on space, you know. So I like to put, let's say if I'm going to make a crystal grid, if this is going to be the focus point, you know what I mean? It fits. And this is a very potent crystal because it's in a natural state and form. So if I don't have a cluster, so, you know, I'll use something like this maybe to create a crystal grid. Wands. I think they're called wands. I don't really know the proper name for them. But even crystals with these points going up this way, it shoots up energy. So this is still also good for making it as a focal point in a crystal grid. You know, that's also good. You know what I mean? Because it's shooting that energy up. So usually I have it in this form. or I'll use a focal point in this form, okay? With it, the little point going up. And then when I'm done with the crystal grid, I always do a prayer, okay? Thanking the energy, because I believe that these crystals are live energies and they resonate at such a higher vibration than us. They come from Mother Earth and they come from nature. I always do some type of gratitude prayer. And I always thank each and every one of the crystals that were part of my grid for their work, you know? And I usually have a crystal. So the one that's the focus of what I'm trying to do will be here and here, and then the other ones around it. So it may be one kind of stone. There may be the whole grid. Like for instance, I was doing something and this crystal was mostly, grid was mostly amethyst and made of and fluorite. I like to use tumble stones again because I'm limited on space, and they're good for these little things because they fit. But I always at least try to make sure that the crystal in the middle of the grid is always in its natural state. When I'm meditating, because I do meditate by the crystal grid as well, when I'm trying to work with that energy, okay, I do like to carry my chakra stones because mostly I use crystal grids for balancing chakras. You can use them for other things, but I mostly use them for chakra work or some type of spiritual healing. One crystal grid I remember I created one time was for so I can have more discernment in my dreams, so I could be able to understand, because I have a lot of symbolic dreams. I know they mean something, but sometimes they're just so hard to make out what it means. And I would actually have a greater understanding when I was journaling, and I did a video on my journals, on my dream journal, and it just made my dreams not only more vivid, I had more of an understanding. I was getting those messages more directly. So crystal grids are very powerful. I make sure that when I create a crystal grid that I activate. There's a certain ritual that I do before. So I would clear this and I would read myself first and see what I need to do with myself, what kind of energy I need to work with for whatever the time that crystal grid's going to be up for. Once I do that, I light specific candles that I have created to charge, to clear my crystals. So I'm clearing away whatever negative energy this crystal may have attached to itself, or just clearing it because maybe it's heavy with energies, because crystals do take on energies, and when they're too full, they're not as effective. Not all crystals can be wet or washed, so I like to do it with candles. I like to burn candles. Once I burn the candles, I take one of the 13 herbs that I work with, the sacred herbs that I work with. I work with more than 13, but there's 13 specific ones that I like to use for clearing and cleaning. So it depends on what my intuition and my spirit guides, which herb they want me to work with at the moment, to also continue to clear that energy. Once that energy is cleared, then I take, and there's incense going because I'm burning herbs, the candles are going, it's cleaning, it's clearing. Once each and every one of the crystals that I'm going to use on the grid are clean and cleared, I'm going to take each and every one of them and I'm going to speak my intentions into them. So for instance, if this is going to be my focus point, smoky quartz, let's say I want to build one for protection. Smoky quartz is good for protections. Once it's cleared, I'm going to speak into it. I'm going to visualize in my mind what I want this crystal to do. And there's certain chants, and there's certain mantras, and there's certain things that I do in ritual, that I speak to ritual. I'm dedicating it to certain spirits that I work with. They may represent this crystal to me, whatever resonates with you. I'm going to speak my intentions. I'm going to dedicate each and every one of these pieces. And then while I'm creating the crystal, I'm going to ask them to activate. Activating your crystals is so important. Just as important as clearing and charging, activation. See what resonates with you when it comes to activating your crystal grids, because they're not as effective unless they're activated, right? So I may use a pendulum for that to raise energy. I may just say the word activate. I may say a prayer or incantation. It depends on what the need, or how I intuitively feel I need to activate. But I will touch each and every one of the crystals. So I will start here, then go here, 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 all around, and speak to each and every one of my crystals about what I want them to do, why I'm setting this crystal grid, what is the intention of this crystal grid. And once that's activated, I literally can feel the crystal energies just raise the vibrations in my workspace, in my spiritual room when I do this. So I just wanted to share that, and hopefully that's helpful. Like I said, you don't need a lot of crystals to do crystal grids. I save a lot of money by buying online tumble stones by the bulk. So maybe a half a pound or a pound of tumbled crystals. It's cheaper than me buying them singly in a metaphysical store. I can actually get it from the actual retailer, from the actual company that they buy things from. I buy it wholesale that way. And that's what I use to create the outside part of my crystal grids. The bigger pieces, I save them for either my working space or for a focal point for a crystal grid. You don't need to have a lot of giant. They're beautiful and they're gorgeous, but you don't need to have giant pieces of crystals to work with crystals. You don't need to have 10,000 crystals to work with crystals. You can work with what you got. And that's why I love the Crystal Prescriptions book, and I love the Crystal Bible, because a lot of crystals have 20 different uses. You don't have to have a big collection to work with crystals. And I just kind of wanted to share that, because I kind of feel like sometimes we might get lost in that and thinking, unless I have a big giant collection of crystals, I can't work with crystals. And that's not necessarily true. Some people do actually work with that much, and that's awesome. And if they could pay for it, that's great. But there's some people that can't afford that, or some people just like collecting crystals. They don't necessarily have to be for metaphysical things. Sometimes they just like to have them, or sometimes people just like to, and that's fine. You have to do whatever it is that resonates with you, and whatever it is that works with you. That's what you should do. So do what makes you happy. Much love, light, and blessings. Thank you so much for watching this video. And if you want to work with me on a one-on-one basis, you can go to my website, shamanic@whitepriestess.com, and there you can book a live session, reading session with me at 6 different price points. So whatever fits your budget. I look forward to making more videos, and please, if you like this video, please like and subscribe and leave a comment below, because I love when you guys do that. And thank you so much for being part of this channel. I love you guys so much. Missed you guys so much. Can't wait to hear the feedback that you guys have. And until the next video, I might be making another video right after this. I usually don't post 2 videos in one day, but I think I'm going to be doing that today. Bye.